Still worry about how to deal with your PDF files? Here comes PDF Element. PDF Element is an all-in-one PDF solution. You can easily create, edit, OCR, fill forms, comment, protect PDFs, and more. Click the links in the description to join our contest and win free Surface Pro, iPad, and professional resume templates. Experience PDF Element today.
What do you think I'm doing? I'm trying to see how it is that people can have their nose up in the air. Hi, I'm Rima and I'm back again with yet another interesting lesson. Today's lesson is all about describing arrogant people. Now, arrogant people, who doesn't run into them? They're everywhere, at your workplace, in your personal life, among your friend circle, almost everywhere. And I'm sure there are certain days when you behave like an arrogant person. I do that sometimes, although I like to keep myself in check. Now, I have come to the conclusion that we need to come up with creative ways of describing arrogant people, and which is why I have made a list of few over here, which I'm going to take you through. So the first one on my list is to be uptight. Now, being uptight means very, very simply and in a straightforward manner to be arrogant. It could also mean being uncooperative. So I could use this in a sentence and say something like, you know what, I'm blessed with an uptight boss, which is why my new ideas are not appreciated. Because your boss is kind of arrogant and full of himself, and he's not cooperative enough to give a listening ear to your new ideas. So that's how you would use this in a sentence. Now, the next one that I have for you is to be a stuffed shirt. Okay, to be a stuffed shirt means to be arrogant, or inflexible. Now, people who are generally inflexible, which means people who stick only to their rules, and it's always like, their way is the correct way. Most of these people are too full of themselves or are too arrogant. Someone, who is so arrogant that the person is actually unaccepting of other people's points of view or other people's ideas and feelings. So, I could say something like, oh, Mark, I don't like to go to dinner with him. He's such a stuffed shirt, which means that he is too arrogant, too full of himself, too inflexible and uncooperative. So a lot of these meanings might merge, but the words that we use to describe the arrogance are different, and I need you to pay attention to these. So that was to be uptight and to be a stuffed shirt. Moving on, there is always high and mighty. Now, somebody who is behaving high and mighty means someone who is too full of themselves. So, if you have a friend who's always all about her and just doesn't, kind of take into consideration anybody else's feelings, schedules, thoughts, ideas, you could just, say something like, you know what, you're just being so high and mighty. It's not fun hanging out with you. And she will definitely get the point. So that's all about being high and mighty, which means, giving others the impression that you're higher than them and mightier than them, and which is why they should only listen to you and not have any thoughts or ideas of their own. So that's all about high and mighty. And moving on, to become too big for one's boots. Okay, so to behave arrogantly. Now imagine that you have a nice little soft-spoken intern in your office, but 6 months later, she has become too big for her boots, which means suddenly she has become very arrogant, rude, and too full of herself. So that is the meaning of to become too big for one's boots, which means acting like you're too good for the current situation in your life, your current job, your current relationship, your current friend circle, just acting like you're above everyone else and everyone else is beneath you or not good enough for you. So that is the meaning of becoming too big for one's boots. Moving on, I have for you to have a swollen head. No, there is no need to rush to the doctor, and this is not about having an actual swelling on your head. It actually means to, become so full of yourself. It's as if your head just swells and becomes many times bigger to actually accommodate your ego. That's right. To have a swollen head means to have a big ego or behave arrogantly. So, well, I could say something like, when Clarissa became a star, all of a sudden she had a swollen head, which means all of a sudden her stardom kind of got to her and her ego became too big and she started behaving arrogantly. So that's how you would use to have a swollen head in a sentence. Moving on, I have for you to put on airs, okay? Now, what does this have to do with air? Actually, nothing. To put on airs can actually be described in two ways. One could be to pretend to be something that you're not, and the second one is to behave arrogantly. So to put on airs means to pretend or be arrogant. So you'll see a lot of people behaving like something that they're not. So they pretend, they put on airs to show people that, they are higher or better than others, or cooler or nicer than others, so that they are indirectly putting the other person down, which means behaving arrogantly. So you could use this in a sentence by saying, I have always seen that a lot of people in society put on airs in order to attract attention. So there's a lot of people in social gatherings and circles who put on airs or pretend to be better than everyone else so that they become the center of attention and attract more attention. So that's all about putting on airs, something that you do not want to indulge in because it really doesn't pay off in the long run. Just be yourself, be natural, and that's always the best. Moving on, I have for you to be stuck up. Now, to be stuck up is very close to being a stuffed shirt. It means somebody who is rigidly stuck in his own egoistic ways and in his own egoistic ways of dealing with things. So, to be stuck up means to be inflexible and egoistic. When I went for dinner with Serena, I realized that she's just stuck up, and I just decided never to socialize with her again. Now that's a bit extreme. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people who are stuck up in different ways and, who have a stuck up attitude towards life. You can't always just cut them all out, but I was just explaining to you how you can use that in a sentence. So you could call somebody stuck up if they are too high and mighty or too egoistic and completely inflexible or inconsiderate. So that is all about being stuck up. And moving on, you have to have your nose in the air. So this means to be too proud of oneself. So to have your nose in the air actually means that, something similar to putting on airs. That means pretending to be better or pretending to be somebody that you're not, and actually coming off as arrogant or somebody who's too proud about who they are or what they are. It could also be compared to having a swollen head. Now these two are very, very close. So I could use the same sentence and say, when Clarissa became a star, she suddenly had her nose up in the air, which means she suddenly got a swollen head, which means that she suddenly became very arrogant and egoistic. So these two, very, very close, and you could actually use them, in the same sentence, and it would make sense. Moving on, I have to be up on a high horse, which means to be arrogant and look down upon. Now imagine that you're riding a horse, a stallion who's very tall, and when you're on your horse, everyone is going to come across as they are beneath you or below you, and you are high and mighty. Now that is where this came from. So, you could tell your friend who's acting very arrogant and very full of himself, hey, listen, you don't have to be up on your high horse all the time. Come down to Mother Earth, which means come down and behave as if all of us are on the same level, and do not behave as if you're too good for us or you're above us. So that is the meaning of to be up on a high horse. And the last one on my list for today is to be holier than thou. Now this means to be or act righteous or arrogant. So if you have a friend who's always judging you and always telling you that you're not good enough, your ideas are not good enough, your way of life is not good enough, you could just joke and tell that person, you know what, you're just always so holier than thou. Come off it and just be normal for once. Which means your friend has to stop looking down upon you and stop showing you how he or she is always right or better than you in every way. So that is the meaning of to be holier than thou. And that's my list for you to describe arrogant people. There are many, many ways in here. Some of them could get a little confusing, but you could actually use one sentence and use almost all of these in that sentence, and they would work just fine. So I really hope that you enjoyed all these ways of me describing arrogant people, and I know you find them annoying, so do I. So the next time, someone's being very annoying and arrogant around you, you might want to use these so that the person realizes what he or she is doing and stops doing that. And trust me, that would be nothing, nothing higher than social service. Trust me, because arrogance can be very annoying. Now, if you want to say something to me or add more such ways of describing arrogant people, all you need to do is write in the comment box below. And if you want access to more such videos, make sure that you are subscribing to our channel and also asking your friends to do the same. I'm going to take your leave. This is me, Rima, signing out, and make sure you are as humble as can be always.